Look at the parking lot after midnight. Not outside a concert, but behind a gym, a big store, a church, a community college. Inside some fogged windows are people with jobs, phones, car payments, and no front door. They aren't all addicts. They aren't all lazy. Many did what they were told: work, save, be patient, build credit. Then the price of a normal life moved faster than their paychecks. This story follows the math, the incentives, and the daily squeeze that push the old homeownership path out of reach. It is grounded in public data and everyday bills, not a fantasy about one perfect city. For young Americans, the question is no longer, when will I buy my first house? It's, how long can I keep sleeping somewhere safe before my savings disappear? That is the shift in a country that still sells homeownership as the reward for adult effort. The anger around this topic usually gets aimed at the wrong target. Older people hear it as an attack on their hard work. Younger people hear every lecture about budgeting as proof that nobody understands the math. Your parents may have struggled. Many did. They faced recessions, layoffs, high rates, and uncertainty. But a hard market isn't the same as one where the entry ticket is lifted out of reach while everyone pretends it is still on the table. The old path was simple enough to explain at a kitchen table. Get a steady job. Rent for a while. Save a down payment. Buy a starter home. Let inflation make the mortgage feel smaller over time. That path didn't vanish overnight. It was crowded out by higher land prices, fewer small homes, stricter local rules, larger down payments, rising insurance, higher rents, student debt, medical bills, and jobs that can look strong while leaving people squeezed. The cruel part is that the dream didn't disappear from the culture. It still sits in commercials, family advice, school expectations, wedding plans, and tax policy. The house is still treated like proof that you are stable. Homeownership used to be a wealth ladder. Today, for many young adults, it is a locked door at the top of a ladder they are already paying to climb. Rent takes the first bite. Groceries take another. Transportation takes another. When people say young adults can't afford homes like their parents did, they aren't saying nobody young buys houses. Some do. They move farther out, buy smaller, inherit help, join incomes, use special loans, or live with family. Recent housing surveys show first-time buyers have become a much smaller share of the market, and the typical first-time buyer is older than in previous generations. That doesn't mean ambition disappeared. Think about what changed. A buyer who owns a home can sell one inflated asset to buy another. A first-time buyer has no old equity to bring. They are trying to enter a game where everyone else is playing with chips from a previous round. That's why the housing market can feel like a private club. Existing owners may complain about prices, but many also benefit from them. Their home gained value. Their old mortgage rate may be low. Their property gives them leverage. The first-time buyer isn't just competing with another young couple. They may face a downsizing owner paying cash, a landlord looking for rent, an investor with spreadsheets, family money, or a remote worker bringing income from a more expensive city. People love to say, just move somewhere cheaper. Sometimes that works. But cheaper places often have fewer jobs, lower wages, weaker transit, fewer rentals, or hidden costs. A cheap house far from work gets expensive once gas, repairs, childcare, and time arrive. The monthly payment is where the fantasy often dies. A price can sound possible until the mortgage rate, taxes, insurance, repairs, and fees arrive. Then, the house that looked like a stretch becomes a budget that breaks before the first water heater fails. Mortgage rates decide how much house a paycheck can carry. When rates are low, a buyer can afford more with the same payment. When rates rise, the same home costs much more every month, even if the sticker price barely moves. That's why young buyers feel trapped between two bad options. If prices fall a little but rates stay high, the payment may still hurt. If rates fall but prices jump, the payment may still hurt. The older story about high rates misses one key point. In earlier periods, rates could be painful, but prices were often lower relative to income. A high rate on a cheaper house isn't the same as a high rate on a home already priced like a luxury good. Now add the down payment. A percentage sounds clean until it becomes real cash. 10% of a modest home in many areas isn't modest money. 20% is often a fantasy unless someone already has wealth, receives family help, or sells another asset. Family help is the quiet divide nobody likes discussing. Some buyers say they saved hard, and they did. But a gift, a loan, free rent at home, inherited money, or help with closing costs can change the whole race. This is one reason resentment builds. Two people can have the same income, same degree, same work ethic, and same city. One has parents who can cover a down payment gap. The other has parents who need help with bills. Rent makes the split worse. High rent doesn't only make life uncomfortable, it blocks the savings needed to escape rent. A renter can pay more than a mortgage would cost, but still be denied the mortgage because they can't prove the right kind of cushion. That's the trap. The system can accept years of rent paid on time, yet still call the renter too risky to buy. Meanwhile, the renter has been carrying someone else's mortgage through rent, taxes, repairs, and profit folded into one bill. Landlords aren't all villains. Some are small owners with mortgages and repairs of their own. But the structure is clear. When housing is scarce, rent rises. When rent rises, saving slows. When saving slows, buying gets delayed. Scarcity is the engine. America has not built enough homes in the right places, at the right prices, for the people who need them. The shortage isn't just about empty land. It's about what local rules allow, what builders can finance, and what neighbors fight. Many communities say they want affordable homes. Then they block apartments, duplexes, smaller lots, manufactured homes, accessory units, or anything that might change parking, traffic, schools, or neighborhood character. That opposition has a rational side. People worry about congestion, school crowding, noise, and losing the place they know. But when every neighborhood shields itself from change, the bill goes to people who never got to buy in. The starter home became a casualty. Builders often make more money building larger homes on expensive land than small homes for first-time buyers. Local rules can make small homes hard to pencil out. That's why new construction can be happening and still not solve the problem. If most new homes are too expensive for first-time buyers, supply is growing, but not where the pressure is worst. Now look at the people who already own. Many locked in low mortgage rates when money was cheaper. Selling would mean giving up that old payment and buying into a new one, so they stay. Then come the cash buyers. Cash isn't magic. It's usually old equity, investment money, inherited wealth, or business capital. To a seller, cash can mean fewer delays and less risk. Investors aren't the whole housing crisis, but they matter in certain neighborhoods and price bands. When investors buy lower-priced homes, they can remove exactly the homes first-time buyers needed. The easy political version says one villain caused everything. The real version is messier. Underbuilding, local restrictions, land costs, financing costs, investor demand, household formation, wage pressure, student debt, and a culture that treats housing as both shelter and investment. That is why honest explanations sound less like slogans and more like a map of pressure points. That last part is the contradiction. We say homes should be affordable, but we also expect home values to rise forever. We want our children to buy cheaply, but we want our own property to appreciate. If housing is an investment, owners want scarcity. If housing is shelter, society needs abundance. America keeps trying to treat it as both, then acts shocked when young people get crushed between the two. The same contradiction shows up in retirement. Many older households depend on home equity for security. That's understandable. But when one generation's safety depends on rising home values, the next generation's entry price rises too. That's why the conversation gets emotional. The house isn't just a building. It's privacy, marriage timing, children, pets, neighborhood, school stability, credit, retirement, and pride. When it becomes unreachable, people aren't just losing square footage. Now follow the money from the dream back to the grocery cart. People often separate housing and groceries, as if rent belongs in one category and cereal belongs in another. In real life, they fight over the same paycheck. A young adult trying to save for a home doesn't experience inflation as a chart. They experience it as a cart that costs more while holding less. They notice the rent renewal. They notice the insurance bill. Grocery inflation cooled from its worst surge, but prices didn't reset to the old normal. That's the part many official conversations miss. Slower inflation doesn't mean cheaper. It means the price is still climbing, just not as fast as before. So when someone says inflation is improving, a shopper may hear nonsense. The economist is talking about the speed of price growth. The shopper is comparing today's total to what they remember paying before the pandemic. The pressure shows up in budgets long before it shows up in a tent. Shrinkflation adds distrust. The price may look familiar, but the box is smaller, the bag has more air, or the roll runs out faster. Official measures often account for size changes, but shoppers still feel tricked because the shelf experience changed. Store layouts are designed around habits. Staples are spread out. High-margin snacks appear at eye level. End caps look like deals even when they aren't the best price. Seasonal displays create urgency. The store isn't just selling food. Loyalty cards can save money, but they also change the game. The posted price becomes a penalty for people who don't join, download, scan, clip, or share data. A person without the app can pay more for the same milk. Digital coupons sound harmless until the grocery trip becomes homework. The deal may require a phone, login, internet, time, and attention. The shopper who is busiest, oldest, poorest, or most stressed may be least able to chase every discount. Private labels complicate the story. Store brands can save families money. They also give retailers more control over pricing, shelf space, and supplier negotiations. The cheaper option may help the shopper while strengthening the retailer's power over the aisle. Premium products create another quiet squeeze. A basic item gets replaced by a high-protein, artisan, organic, limited edition, or family-size version. Sometimes it is better. Convenience has become a tax on exhaustion. Pre-cut fruit, ready meals, delivery, single-serve packs, and drive-through dinners cost more because they sell time. When workers are stretched thin, they buy back minutes at the exact moment they can least afford it. Delivery apps make this sharper. Menu prices can be higher, service fees stack up, tips are expected, and small orders become expensive fast. For a young worker without time, transportation, or a full kitchen, convenience isn't always laziness. Small costs do not cause the whole crisis, but they help explain why saving feels impossible. Amazon changed how many people think about convenience. The promise is speed, endless choice, and fewer errands. But easy ordering can blur price comparison when subscriptions, delivery minimums, and automatic reorders turn spending into background noise. Walmart remains powerful because many shoppers see it as the low-price anchor. That reputation matters. But even there, the final bill depends on package size, brand choice, impulse buys, delivery options, and whether shoppers compare unit prices. Kroger has been central to national grocery debates because large chains have enormous influence over pricing, promotions, private labels, and supplier relationships. That doesn't mean every high price has one cause. Costco shows the other side of the bargain. Bulk buying can lower unit costs for households with storage, transportation, and cash up front. But a membership model works best for people who can afford to buy more today to save over time. Aldi has grown by making simplicity feel like relief. Smaller selection, private labels, and fewer frills can lower prices. But access still matters. A bargain store across town doesn't help much if a shopper lacks a car, time, or safe transit. The grocery aisle teaches the same lesson as housing. The best deal often goes to the person with flexibility. Flexible time, flexible storage, flexible transportation, flexible cash. A homeowner with a freezer can buy meat on sale. A renter with roommates may have one shelf. A person in a car can't stock up at all. The economy rewards bulk buying, but the people who need savings most often have the least room to store them. This is where car living enters the story. A vehicle can become the last private space a person controls. It has locks, heat sometimes, a phone charger sometimes, and the emotional comfort of not being fully exposed. People living in cars learn a whole geography most housed people never notice. Which parking lots are tolerated, which bathrooms stay open, which streets are quiet, which gyms have showers, which cops move people along, which neighbors call. Tent living is visible, so it becomes political. Some people see disorder, some see policy failure, some see personal tragedy. Often it is all of those at once, but the root is simple. People need places they can afford to live. Homeless counts are imperfect. They miss people doubled up with relatives, couch surfing, sleeping in vehicles, hiding in workplaces, or avoiding outreach teams. But even imperfect counts show that housing instability isn't a fringe issue. The face of housing insecurity is broader than many imagine. It includes students, warehouse workers, aides, drivers, retail clerks, service workers, freelancers, new graduates, single parents, seniors, and people one rent hike from losing the place they sleep. Some are employed full-time. That detail makes people uncomfortable because it breaks the old moral story. If someone works and still can't afford shelter, the problem can't be explained only by personal choices. That doesn't mean choices don't matter. Spending, debt, location, relationships, addiction, and mental illness can matter. But personal responsibility can't build apartments, lower land costs, rewrite zoning, or make wages match a rent market that jumped ahead. The budgeting lecture survives because it is emotionally convenient. It turns a structural problem into a personality problem. Skip coffee, cancel streaming, stop eating out. Those tips can help at the margin. Still, the small spending matters in a painful way because the margin is so thin. A delivery dinner here, a subscription there, higher car insurance, a phone bill, and surprise medical copays can erase the little savings a renter managed to build. The problem isn't that young adults are too good for sacrifice. Many live with parents, delay children, delay marriage, share apartments, move farther out, skip vacations, work second jobs, and still watch the down payment goal outrun them. Student debt is another weight, but it isn't just the monthly bill. It affects the debt-to-income ratio, the ability to save, the timing of family formation, and the feeling of risk. Cars add another trap. In much of America, a car isn't optional. It's how you reach work, groceries, school, childcare, and healthcare. The car payment, insurance, fuel, maintenance, and repairs compete directly with rent and savings. A walkable city can reduce transportation costs, but those neighborhoods are often expensive. A cheaper suburb may require 2 cars. A rural area may offer cheaper housing but fewer jobs. Insurance has become a bigger part of the story. Home, rent, car, and health insurance all take monthly bites. In some regions, climate risk has made home insurance harder or more expensive, adding another layer to the wall. Property taxes and maintenance also surprise first-time buyers. A mortgage calculator can look possible, then reality adds a roof, plumbing, appliances, lawn equipment, pests, higher utilities, and repairs that don't care whether the owner is ready. Yet renting isn't safe either. A renter can do everything right and still face a rent hike, a sale, a non-renewal, a roommate leaving, or a job shift that breaks the commute. Renters live with a kind of conditional belonging. That conditional belonging shapes behavior. People avoid decorating. They delay pets. They keep boxes. They don't know if they will be in the same school zone next year. They learn not to feel too attached to a place they can be priced out of. The social cost is enormous. When young adults can't form stable households, communities change. Fewer children are born or they are born later. Local businesses lose regular customers. Schools see churn. Friend groups scatter. People living with parents are often mocked, but many are making a rational choice. Staying home can be the only way to save. It can also be crowded, stressful, culturally complicated, or impossible if family is unsafe, far away, or financially struggling too. That's another hidden divide. Some people have a family home to return to. Others have no spare bedroom waiting. Some families can absorb an adult child. Others need that adult child to contribute. The labor market adds confusion. Headlines may say unemployment is low. But low unemployment doesn't guarantee affordable life. A person can find work and still be unable to find a rent they can carry. Many jobs also moved toward instability. Gig work, contract work, variable schedules, and unpredictable hours can make income look messy to landlords and lenders. The worker may be hustling constantly, but the paperwork doesn't look like the old steady job. Credit scores become another gate. A late payment from a crisis can follow someone for years. A thin credit file can punish people who avoided debt. Application fees can drain renters before they even get approved. Security deposits and moving costs make the rental market feel like a casino with an entry fee. First month, last month, deposit, pet fee, application fee, storage, truck, utility setup. Eviction records can create a long shadow. Even when the story is complicated, a filing can scare off future landlords. Housing instability then reproduces itself. One bad stretch becomes a mark that makes the next stable lease harder to get. The pandemic didn't create every problem, but it accelerated many. Remote work reshuffled demand. Savings patterns changed. Supply chains broke. Construction costs jumped. Mortgage rates later rose. Rents moved. Investors adjusted. During the low-rate rush, some buyers stretched to win homes. Others were locked out. Then rates climbed, and the people who missed that window felt punished twice. They didn't get the cheaper loan, and prices didn't fall enough to make up for it. That's why simple slogans fail. Build more is necessary, but not enough if everything built is too costly. Protect neighborhoods sounds nice, but can protect exclusion. Help buyers can raise prices if supply doesn't grow. Rent control can protect some tenants from sudden hikes, but it can also discourage new supply if designed poorly. Deregulation can speed building, but may not guarantee affordability. The uncomfortable answer is that there is no magic fix. America needs more homes, more kinds of homes, faster permitting, better tenant stability, smarter subsidies, fair lending, transit access, and wages that match where jobs exist. Every tent has an immediate human need: safety, sanitation, shelter, treatment if needed, documents, storage, a path indoors. But beyond the emergency is the larger question. Why does one of the richest countries keep producing people who can't rent a room? Some people answer because they made bad choices. Some did. Everyone knows someone who made life harder for themselves, but a healthy housing system has room for human imperfection. When rent consumes too much of income, one car repair can become a housing event. When savings are thin, a dental bill can become a housing event. When leases are tight, a breakup can become a housing event. Young people know this fragility. That's why some seem cynical. They watched adults promise that education and work would protect them. Then they entered a market where even good jobs can feel like standing on a rug someone might pull. The mental toll is real. Constantly calculating survival changes a person. Every purchase carries guilt. Every rent email raises blood pressure. Every family gathering becomes a comparison. Social media makes it worse. People see home tours, investment wins, renovation reveals, and perfect kitchens. They rarely see parental help, old mortgage rates, hidden debt, timing luck, or the years of sacrifice behind the image. At the same time, social media also exposes the pain. People post car setups, van routines, budget meals, tiny rooms, rent hikes, and rejection letters. What used to be private shame becomes public evidence. The danger is turning hardship into aesthetic content. Van life can be a choice for some people. Car dwelling isn't the same thing when it comes from eviction, rent shock, family conflict, or a job that pays too little for local housing. Safe parking programs exist because communities recognize the reality. They offer a legal place to sleep, bathrooms, security, and connections to services. They can reduce harm. But a safe parking lot isn't a substitute for a housing market that works. Some colleges have faced students sleeping in cars. That should stop people cold. Education is supposed to be a route upward, yet some students are studying for exams while figuring out where to park overnight without being reported. Workers face the same contradiction. A person can stock shelves, serve food, care for patients, clean buildings, deliver packages, or teach children in a community where they can't afford a studio apartment. That isn't a personal budgeting puzzle. The grocery store worker may scan food all day, then put items back at checkout. The apartment maintenance worker may repair units they can't rent. The child care worker may care for other people's children while delaying their own because housing is too expensive. These contradictions create moral fatigue. People stop believing official language. They hear consumer resilience and think, I am exhausted. They hear soft landing and think, my rent went up. They hear core inflation and think, the eggs still cost more. Official numbers are useful. They prevent us from relying only on vibes. But lived experience matters too. Averages can hide the young renter in a hot market, the single worker without family help, or the person whose wages rose but rent rose faster. Location decides so much. In some smaller markets, buying is still possible. In many coastal and high-growth metros, it can feel absurd. In some rural places, the home is cheaper, but the job market is thin. Race and history also matter, even when people want to skip that part. Past discrimination shaped who owned homes, where they owned, what appreciated, and what families could pass down. Home equity becomes the silent engine of privilege. It pays tuition, covers emergencies, funds down payments, supports retirement, and cushions risk. Renters can build wealth too, but they must do it without the forced savings and appreciation that ownership can provide. The system then praises homeowners for discipline while ignoring the structure that helped discipline pay off. A mortgage turns monthly payments into equity. Rent turns monthly payments into a receipt. Now imagine trying to start that compounding at 40 instead of 30. The lost years matter. Fewer years to build equity. Fewer years before retirement. More years paying rent. More years exposed to rent hikes. That's why young people aren't merely whining about prices. They are watching the wealth-building machine start without them. They are being told to be patient while the escalator moves upward. The emotional core isn't envy, it's exclusion. People are asking why ordinary work no longer reliably buys ordinary shelter. They are asking why survival requires perfect credit, dual income, family support, no emergencies, and a lucky zip code. There are still ways forward for individuals. House hacking, roommate buying, smaller homes, relocating, assistance programs, Credit repair, union jobs, trades, disciplined saving, and patient investing can help. Personal finance advice is useful when it respects scale. Telling someone to track spending is fair. Pretending tracking a loan can overcome a broken housing-to-income ratio is insulting. The math has to be named honestly. One honest step is to stop comparing generations using only character. Parents were not automatically wiser. Young people aren't automatically weaker. They are facing a different set of prices, policies, debts, and market incentives. Another honest step is to admit that cheap housing requires trade-offs. More apartments may mean more density. Smaller homes may mean smaller lots. Faster building may mean less local veto power. Communities can't say they love teachers, nurses, firefighters, service workers, and young families while zoning them out. Appreciation posts don't pay rent. Yard signs don't create units. Gratitude without housing becomes decoration. Employers also have a stake. If workers can't live near jobs, businesses face turnover, labor shortages, longer commutes, and wage pressure. Housing policy is economic policy. A city that can't house workers is quietly taxing its own future. The same is true for transportation. Build only far from jobs, and households pay in cars. Build without transit, and savings vanish into insurance and repairs. Housing affordability isn't just the rent. Food policy belongs in this conversation too. A city with high rents and expensive groceries squeezes the same households twice. When every basic need becomes a profit center, the worker has nowhere to hide financially. That phrase sounds harsh, but look around. Housing is monetized, food is optimized, data is harvested through loyalty programs, convenience is fee-layered, credit is scored, insurance is repriced. Late fees are especially revealing. The person short on money pays more because they were short on money. Overdrafts, penalties, reconnection charges, towing, impound fees, and missed payment marks can turn a small shortage into a downward staircase. Vehicle dwellers know this well. A ticket for sleeping in the wrong place can threaten the very shelter they have left. A broken taillight can become a police encounter. A tow can erase home, transportation, documents, medicine, and work access in one morning. That's why criminalizing homelessness can be costly and ineffective when there is nowhere realistic to go. Cities need public order, sanitation, and safety. Residents deserve usable parks and sidewalks. Compassion without structure also fails. A sandwich helps tonight. A shelter bed helps tonight. But long-term stability requires units people can afford, services for those who need them, and income that can survive ordinary bills. The damage is slow before it is visible. The best responses usually combine both: immediate shelter and long-term housing, mental health care and rent support, addiction treatment and job pathways, faster building and tenant protection, public safety and basic dignity. None of this means everyone should own a detached house. America needs more options between a luxury apartment and a distant single-family home. Duplexes, townhomes, courtyard apartments, accessory units, co-ops, manufactured homes, and small condos all matter. The missing middle isn't just an architecture phrase, it's a life stage. People need places between childhood bedroom and forever home, between dorm and mortgage, between divorce and recovery, between retirement and isolation. When those options are missing, people improvise. They stay in bad relationships. They crowd into unsafe rentals. They commute too far. They sleep in cars. They camp. They leave the city. They delay medical care. The problem is solvable, but not painless. Building more homes where people want to live will upset some homeowners. Limiting speculation may upset some investors. Funding vouchers or public housing costs money. Changing parking rules annoys drivers. That's why the crisis persists. The people who benefit from the current system are often organized, housed, and heard. The people hurt by it are busy surviving, moving, applying, commuting, or trying to sleep without being noticed. The result is a democracy of whoever has time. Retired homeowners show up, landowners show up, developers show up, renters and car dwellers are underrepresented. Then policy reflects the room, and the room reflects who already has stability. Media coverage can also distort the issue. A dramatic encampment gets attention. A family quietly doubled up in a two-bedroom apartment doesn't. A worker sleeping in a car keeps the car clean and tries not to be seen. That invisibility lets comfortable people believe the crisis is somewhere else. Then their adult child can't move out. Their favorite restaurant cuts hours because workers can't live nearby. Their school can't hire staff. This is the part that should unite generations. Older homeowners need nurses, aides, drivers, clerks, teachers, and repair workers. Younger workers need homes. A society that prices out the people it relies on isn't protecting stability. The anger should be aimed at incentives, not family members. A parent who bought a house years ago didn't personally design the shortage. A young renter didn't personally create inflation. Start with the myth that the market is purely natural. Housing markets are built by rules. Minimum lot sizes, parking requirements, permitting delays, tax benefits, lending standards, infrastructure choices, and school boundaries all influence who gets in and who stays out. Groceries are shaped by rules and power too. Supplier contracts, shelf fees, promotions, mergers, logistics, labor costs, weather, disease, fuel, and consumer data all affect the price. For a household, the practical response isn't glamorous. Compare unit prices. Watch package sizes. Use store brands carefully. Avoid delivery when possible. Share bulk purchases if safe. Protect credit. Build emergency savings. Apply for assistance without shame. For communities, the practical response is bigger. Allow more housing types, speed approvals, support deeply affordable units, preserve older rentals, expand safe transit, reduce useless fees, protect tenants from sudden displacement. For the country, the response requires honesty. Homeownership can't remain the main wealth engine if the doorway keeps narrowing. Either more people must be allowed in, or America must build other serious ways for renters to gain security and wealth. That could mean stronger renter protections, portable housing aid, public or nonprofit housing, shared equity models, better retirement access, childcare support, and wages that reflect local living costs. None are perfect. The hardest truth is that many young people aren't asking for luxury. They are asking for a clean room, a safe street, a working kitchen, a fair commute, and a future where one emergency doesn't send them to a parking lot. They are asking why a full-time worker should need a side hustle to rent a basic apartment. Why a couple with steady jobs can't find a starter home. Why groceries require strategy. The parent generation often says, "We sacrifice too." That's true. The better question isn't who suffered more. The better question is whether the same sacrifices still lead to the same results. For many young people, they don't. When effort stops converting into stability, trust breaks. People withdraw, delay, rage, joke, doom scroll, or move away. Some stop believing in the deal. A society should pay attention when its young workers no longer believe the normal path is real. The cars and tents aren't separate from the home listings. They are connected by the same shortage and the same paycheck squeeze. One end of the market has bidding wars and cash offers. The grocery bill isn't separate either. It's the daily reminder that essentials are being optimized around what households can barely tolerate. A dollar here, a fee there, a smaller package, a higher rent, a bigger deposit. The story isn't hopeless. Cities can build, rules can change, wages can rise, programs can work, families can adapt, individuals can still win. But hope has to be tied to math, not slogans. The first takeaway is simple. Young people aren't imagining the housing wall. First-time buyers are older, rent burdens are heavy, down payments are harder, and the starter home has become rare in many places. The second takeaway is that homelessness isn't only a story of personal collapse. It's often the final stage of a long affordability chain. When rent, food, transport, insurance, and debt all rise together, small shocks become life-changing. The third takeaway is that everyday pricing matters. Grocery layouts, loyalty apps, package sizes, delivery fees, private labels, and convenience habits don't cause the housing crisis, but they drain the same savings people need to escape it. The final takeaway is the most uncomfortable. America can't keep treating homes as guaranteed wealth machines for owners and affordable shelter for newcomers at the same time, without building much more housing and changing who gets protected. So the next time someone says young people just need to work harder, ask a better question. Work harder against what price? Against what rent? Against what interest rate? Against what zoning rule? Against what grocery bill? If this video helped make the picture clearer, like it, share it with someone who still thinks this is only about bad budgeting, and comment with this specific question. What is the biggest thing blocking people your age from stable housing where you live?